In this video, I'm going to say some bold things. I'm going to say some things that are going to sound crazy, things that are going to make you take a step back and say, whoa, I've never heard that before. Like, is that actually true? Could that actually be true? Because if it is, then that's like the most mind-blowing, the most incredible blessing ever to have discovered that that thing is true. There are going to be things in this video that go against what you have heard about OCD, plenty of things. And that is why it is such a game changer. That is why it is so life-changing, right? Because the things I'm going to teach you in this video is, first off, what OCD actually is in a way that you've never heard before. I can say that with so much confidence because I've had so many conversations with people where when I share even just a fraction of what I'm going to share in this video, they're like, holy cow, that makes so much sense. Like, dang, how have I never heard this before? Genuinely, like someone I was talking to the other day, they were like mad. They were mad because they're like, why does no one else teach this? Like, why do they not teach this in therapy? Why does no one know this? Like, this is so much better. This is what everyone needs. Why don't they have this more places? And I'm like, I don't know. That's why I'm sharing it with as many people as I can. And you might be listening to this saying like, okay, this guy is crazy. Like, how would he, like, he looks so young. How would he know things that are so powerful and so effective? Like, okay, this guy's full of it. So first off, totally makes sense. Like, I'd probably think that too, honestly. If I saw another 22-year-old and they were saying the stuff that I am saying, I'd be like, you are full of it. If I hadn't seen the results that I've gotten people, and if I hadn't had this change happen in my life, then yeah, I wouldn't believe it. So just a quick backstory from me personally, so that you can see where I'm coming from with making claims like this. So ever since I was very young, I was actually sexually abused as a child, not by a family member, just want to make that clear. But from that point forward, it caused a lot of pain. So OCD, anxiety for years and years throughout my life, and it, obviously fluctuated with how severe it was, how bad it was. But for about 14 years, I was stuck with OCD and anxiety. And I struggled with all sorts of different themes of OCD, religious OCD, relationship OCD, social OCD, false memory OCD, perfectionism OCD, intrusive thoughts, all sorts of different things. And it was awful. It was. And it got to the point where when I was a senior in high school, and right after I graduated high school, the OCD, the anxiety got so bad, I was having panic attacks. I thought I was going crazy. I wanted to die. Very luckily, I did not take any actions there, but I wanted to die. I thought I was going to be stuck forever. That was one of my biggest fears, is that I'd be trapped like that for the rest of my life. And I didn't know what was reality. I didn't know what wasn't. I didn't know what was happening. I was terrified. It was horrible. And it was bad enough that I couldn't work and I couldn't date because it was too scary. And even just going to school, and even just going in public was terrifying every single day. And possibly the hardest part of all of it is the happiness, the freedom that I ached and yearned for so much. Just felt so far away, because even in the moments when I had some happiness and when I was trying to feel happy so much because something good happened in my life, there was always that voice in the back of my mind of, this won't last. You have to fear this. You have to think about this. And it was awful. I hated it. I remember one time, like when I was 18, begging my mom to somehow save me. Just begging my mom, because I was so stuck and I just needed a way out of it. And for 14 years, I struggled. And even though I had so much willpower and I had so much, I thought I was so strong and I fought so hard and I gave everything, nothing worked. So if you're looking at me saying this and you're like, this guy's really saying that I can beat my OCD and anxiety, like, really? What does he think I've been doing for the last 20 years? He thinks I've just been sitting on the couch, just letting it take over me. Like, no, I've given everything. I've tried everything to beat this. How dare this chump say that he can help me beat all of this? Like, who does he think he is? Just know, it's totally natural to feel that way. I felt that way. Like, I felt like I was cursed. I felt like it was impossible. I felt like no matter what I did and the harder I tried, it would just never work. And it wasn't until I discovered these concepts that I'm now going to share with you in this video, which is why I'm so excited for you to learn this. because it can change everything for you. Like, it's when I learned this, that's when things just started changing. Things started clicking, it was just insane. When I discovered these things, I was able to change my life so much that I almost don't share how powerfully and incredibly my life changed, because people are gonna think it's crazy. Like people will think, no, there's no way. Because literally in weeks, I went from thinking I was going crazy, being in that mental prison of OCD, where I was just consumed and it was horrible, to literally being in love with life. Waking up each morning and being like, this is gonna be the best day of my life. Not because any amazing thing's happening, but just because I'm learning this information, just because I'm gaining power over my OCD, and I'm actually learning how I can create the life I dream of, how I can create the mind that I dream of. So much that like people at the time, they knew how much I'd been struggling. Like the struggling became somewhat public to the people that I knew at the time. And so people would ask me, David, how are you doing? You were really struggling. And I'd be genuinely, I would be like, I won. Like I peaked at life. Like I don't even know if I could do any better. Like I'm genuinely doing like the best. And it was just crazy to me because I could say it honestly, and it made me so excited to be able to say it, because I was genuinely so in love with life. I was so free, more than I ever dreamed possible for the 14 years that I was trapped, suffering. And it's not that the OCD was perfectly healed, right? I'm not saying, oh, in weeks you'll be perfectly, no. But it's because I understood this. It's because I understood these ideas, these concepts. And because I learned this, that I had so much hope, so much empowerment, and I was so just like, I can actually conquer this for good. I can actually create the healing that I've wanted so bad. Like I really can do that. It is more than possible. It can become inevitable when you learn the right things. And that is why life became so amazing, even when the OCD was still getting triggered. And so that's the thing I want to share with you, is just, if you have been told that OCD is just impossible to beat, that if you have it, it's a lifelong condition, it's just something you're stuck with. So you can learn how to manage it, right? You can do ERP and acceptance treatment, and you can learn to be more okay with suffering, right? And if you really do tons of exposures, then maybe it will become more manageable. But you have OCD, so oops, you're stuck. No, do not buy that for even a second. Like just cast that out, just get rid of that. That is not even true, not even close. Because the truth is you can heal, you can conquer. I've seen it in my life and the lives of other people that have learned this. And here's the thing I want you to take in right now, is just from the information in this video, and even less than the information in this video, like a simplified version of this. I've literally had people I've talked to go from 3 panic attacks a day to 1 panic attack in the next 2 months. I've had people conquer like 90% of their anxiety, 90% of like the mental struggles that they were dealing with. People with diagnosed OCD anxiety, panic attacks. People that had tried everything. People that have been struggling for years, for decades. I've had them change their life through this information. And I'm not saying, I can't guarantee that it will change your life. I can't guarantee that. But I can tell you that it is possible that it will. It is possible that this video will just open your eyes, open your mind, your heart to seeing OCD and seeing life in such a different way that it's never the same, and you never suffer and struggle with OCD at the same level that you have after watching this video, that you never do again. That's possible. It absolutely can happen. And I'll show some of the reviews and case studies and whatever around on the screen, so you can see that this has actually happened. So the thing I want you to do with this video is that I don't want you to just watch it like, oh, okay, can this really be true? Like, who is this guy? Like, what? Nah, that can't work. Or even, like, I don't even want you to watch this video of like, oh, okay, that's cool. Oh, that's some good information. Oh yeah, I've definitely never heard that. Oh, that's really good. No. That would be a failure to me if that's all that happened. I want you to actually take this in with the mindset of, this could change my life. How can this change my life? This is actually true. How can this be true? Like, actually take in what this can mean for you. Actually take it in of like, holy cow, this changes everything. Holy cow, this is like take in and actually internalize. Don't just understand what I teach you, actually internalize what I teach you. Because if you do that, like that has been the difference of people that learn this, that are like, oh, that's really cool, and the people that actually change their life, is how much they internalize it. So not that you have to like, oh, I have to change my life from this video. No, definitely not that. But just know, if you actually try to take it in and actually go, okay, what if this is all true? What if this could work for me in my life? If you actually take it in that way, this can be a life-changing experience for you. And I know that because it was such a life-changing experience for me learning all of these things. So not only am I going to teach you what is causing your OCD, but I'm also going to share with you how you can know that your OCD is always a lie, how you can actually have confidence in that and understand that. I'm going to teach you how you can understand why all of your thoughts and feelings happen, so that anything you're experiencing in the moment, you know why. And I'm going to teach you ultimately how you can know that you can conquer OCD for good, that you actually can heal from it and achieve a full recovery. And this is information I've got from thousands of hours of research, thousands of hours of application and working with other people and figuring things out in the very best way through working with so many other people and through working through my own patterns and my own OCD. I put so much learning, so much valuable, just life-changing information in this video, so please watch it to the end. I know it is a little bit long, but if you watch it to the end, you will not be disappointed, because some of the most powerful concepts that you could learn are towards the end of this video. So the first thing that I discovered that opened the door to the healing, that opened the door to the power that I developed in my life, is that all OCD, all of it, all it is patterns that your brain is doing on purpose. It's patterns that you have memorized in your subconscious mind. That is it. That is what's causing it. That is why it's happening. So if you've heard these things of, oh no, it's just I was born with this. Oh no, it's just my genetics. Oh, it's just because I'm just broken. No, it's because you've memorized subconscious patterns that are causing and creating all of this to happen over and over and over again. And that's making you so stuck in this in a way that it feels like you're broken, or in a way that feels or seems like, oh, it's just, there's nothing I can do about it, so it must be genetic. It's like, yes, you can have genetic factors that influence and affect the way your subconscious is programmed, for sure. But ultimately, it is subconscious patterns. And one of the most liberating, freeing, exciting things that I could ever share with you is that your subconscious patterns can be reprogrammed. They can be changed. Just like they were programmed through your life, they came to be through the experiences, through everything that's happened in your past. In the same way, you can actually redesign them deliberately, on purpose, to create your brain, your mind, to be the way you want it to be. So, that's a whole other topic of how to do that. But for now, the first thing to understand is, what is your subconscious? It's absolutely crucial for you to understand what the subconscious is, if it's the thing that's causing all of this pain and suffering that you hate so much in your life. So your subconscious, the two most important things, without going too in depth, the two important things for you to understand is that your subconscious is the part of your brain that memorizes information, and that the goal of your subconscious, the single goal of what it's trying to accomplish, is to help you meet your needs, to make sure that your needs are met. To focus on this one at first, and then we'll go to this one. If you had to relearn life every morning when you woke up, that'd be awful, right? If you woke up and you're like, wait, how do I walk? Oh, how do I talk to someone? Oh, what am I supposed to do today? Oh, who's that person? Like, that'd be horrible. So in order for our lives to work, we have to have a brain that can actually memorize and store information for us. That can memorize how to act, right? Physical programs of how to move in a certain way, how to walk. Also memorizing facts and information, memorizing your name, memorizing also other skills of how to speak, like all the different things in our life. Also how we breathe, right? When you breathe, you don't think about it consciously. You're not like, hey, breathe in, breathe out. Like, it's subconscious, it just happens. So your subconscious, the simplest explanation of this is right now, if I were to tell you to tie your shoes, I'm guessing that you could do that and still pay total attention to me because you've memorized subconsciously how to tie your shoes. So your body, your subconscious mind actually knows how to tie your shoes better than your conscious mind does. Right? It's just a program. All you have to do is select that program. I'm going to tie my shoes and boom. Right? At one point you had to go, oh, wait, okay, I hold this here and I twist this here and you had to actually consciously think it through. But now you've done that enough times, it's just boom, shoe tied. And so while a lot of people understand, okay, for learning physical skills, like when Steph Curry goes to shoot a three-pointer, okay, he's memorized that in his subconscious, like that makes sense. Movement patterns you can memorize, all right. The thing that most people don't understand is it's the exact same with your thoughts, with your feelings, with the OCD and everything that goes into that. So just like you have memorized how to tie your shoes and your body, your subconscious knows how to do it better than you consciously do, same thing with your thoughts and feelings. With whatever that thing is you memorize, your brain knows how to feel fear subconsciously in your body better than you even consciously do. And it knows when to trigger it. It knows all these things that it just automatically causes. That's why with the OCD, it's the same types of thoughts over and over, the same types of feelings over and over, the same things, fears over and over, the same things it's trying to convince you of over and over. It's because it's just a program. It's just a program. Just like when you walk, you move your legs in the same way over and over. It's a program playing. Same thing with the OCD. So that takes us to the second part of what OCD is it subconscious patterns we've memorized. But the thing that just absolutely blew me away, and I was like, what? This is insane. Like, how can that be true? But it actually is, and that changes everything of how people can look at their OCD, is that every thought and feeling that you experience, your subconscious is creating it, is causing that to happen on purpose. Because otherwise it wouldn't have happened. The only thoughts and feelings you experience are ones that your subconscious creates and causes you to experience. And there is a reason behind every thought and feeling. Your subconscious is only causing you to think and feel that way because it wants you to. Because it thinks that it has to. Because the second part to remember is that the entire goal of your subconscious is to help you meet your needs. So the thing that's going to change the way you look at OCD entirely is once you understand that everything that's happening with your OCD is actually an attempt to help you meet your needs. That's it. So that horrifying intrusive thought, that ruminating that's just bombarding your mind, that is actually on purpose. It is strategic. Your subconscious is doing it on purpose to try to help you meet your needs. And before you say, oh, he's lost his mind. Like, my brain would never do that on purpose. Like, that's just crazy. What is he talking about? Let me explain. So, the first thing you've got to understand, to understand why your brain would ever do something that crazy, is that every human has 4 needs. No matter who you are, no matter where you were raised, no matter what's happened to you, everyone has these 4 needs. The first need is safety and survival. Because if you can't even survive or stay alive or avoid this danger, then you can't really have your other needs met. And that's just like the big biologically driven thing inside all of us, right? Is to survive. So that's number 1. Second one is freedom and control. We need to feel like we have a sense of agency, like we can actually cause what's happening in our life instead of just being trapped or controlled by our life. Right? That you can determine how you want to think, how you want to feel, what you want to do, what happens to you in your life. We all have that need for control and freedom. The third one is significance. We all have the need to be good enough, to be valuable, to be special, and to not have something awful be about us, right? To not be an awful person that's worthless or whatever, right? Yeah, we need significance, being good enough. The fourth one, probably the biggest one, is love and connection. We all crave, we all need love and connection. That's why so much in life is motivated towards getting love. Because if we feel like we don't have love, that is going to eat away at the way you experience everything in life. Hopefully this makes sense, right? In your life, you can probably see, okay, yeah, I do need these things, right? If I didn't have one of those, life would be tough, it would not be good. But how does this have anything to do with that intrusive thought? Or how does this have anything to do with all that anxiety I'm feeling or whatever it is? This is it. Like this is, if you want to understand why you're thinking and feeling everything that you are, if you want to understand your psychology at a way better than getting a degree in psychology, and in the next 20 minutes or however long this takes, this is it. This is it. This hopefully will be one of the most eye-opening, one of the most just changing the way you see everything in your life, things that you've ever discovered. I know for me personally, it absolutely has been. It's crazy. So, super excited to share this with you. Let's jump into it. This concept I got from Tony Robbins. He calls blueprints. So blueprints are basically the rules that you memorize of what needs to happen in order for your needs to be met. And it's things that your brain has memorized so much through your experiences in your life, through what you've thought and felt and believed for so many times, for so long, that at this point, it's just a fact to you. It's not actually a fact. It can change. It can be sculpted. It can be redesigned. It's actually just beliefs that you've memorized, but your brain's viewing it as fact. That's why the OCD seems so terrifying to you, because it's this thing has to happen. It's a fact. No, it's not. It's just a pattern, a program that your brain's memorized as being a fact. So I got the idea from Tony Robbins, and I basically just added to it, sculpted it, changed it to really fit with OCD, with anxiety, with mental illness specifically, and just kind of added some other cool things to help you better understand this. This is it right here. This little house and little pathway to the house, that's what you gotta know. So with this analogy, the house represents having your needs met. So just like the whole goal is to get your needs to be met, the whole goal of this analogy is to get inside the house. That is the goal. If you're inside the house, you are good. That's it. And so really, the big difference between people with mental illness compared to people that don't have mental illness is how much you have memorized that you are not in that house. Basically, how much you have memorized that your needs aren't met and that they might never be met, that you might not have any control over those needs being met. That is what is going to cause your brain to develop the patterns of OCD and anxiety and depression, whatever it is, right? So when you memorize that your need isn't met, the whole goal is to get your need to be met. That is when your brain is going to obsess over, okay, what needs to happen? What do I have to do in order to have my needs met? Right? That creates the OCD obsessing where this has to happen or this can't happen based on then all of this. So getting into the house, that's your needs met. Then the door, right? If you notice, this house doesn't have windows, it doesn't have a back door. It's just this door. Because this is basically the big picture thing that your brain, your subconscious has memorized as this thing has to happen in order for my needs to be met. So you can take a second and think about, with your OCD specifically, what is the need and what is the door? Right, so a couple questions real quick, just so you can really start to put yourself into this and actually understand it for yourself specifically, is just think about, okay, which one of these, if right now in this moment I could know that I have this, would it make it so all the OCD goes away? So all of it's I can actually be okay. I don't have to worry about that thing anymore. Right? If you knew that you were that you were so lovable and just so deserving of love, and that you are gonna have more love in all the ways that you want to, more than you could ever dream of, if you knew that, would that get rid of the OCD? Would it make it so well then I wouldn't even have to worry about all those flaws, and I wouldn't even have to worry about that mistake I made, and I wouldn't have to worry about, I'd be good. Okay, then that's the need you've memorized not being met. If you're if I just knew I would be free, if I just knew I could have control over my mind, if I just knew that, then the OCD would all be gone. And it might be a couple, right? It might be both of these. These two go together a lot. It might be all three, it might be all four, right? But just ask yourself, okay, which of these things is if I knew that I had that, then I'd be good. Then my needs would be met. Then I wouldn't have OCD. Life would be incredible. Yes. And then with your door, it's the specific big picture way of how you have that need. So maybe your door is, I need to have this perfect dream relationship in order to have love and connection, right? Your door is that dream relationship. I need to be super successful. I have to be the most successful ever. That's my door. Or, I need to not have intrusive thoughts. Right? I need to know that I'm not going to harm a family member. If I just knew that, that's the big picture thing that needs to happen. Okay, I'm good. Oh, if I just knew that I wouldn't be trapped in OCD forever. Oh, if I just knew I'd actually conquer OCD for good. Oh, yeah, then my OCD would go away. Then I'd be good. Oh, if I just knew that I'm actually good enough to be loved and that there isn't something wrong with me that makes it so people will judge me. Oh, yeah, okay. Right, so for yourself, ask yourself, what's the big thing that if you could just believe or know that one big thing, it would make it so you wouldn't have to worry anymore. You would be free. You'd be like, oh, it's amazing, right? If I just knew that I could touch anything and it wouldn't hurt me. Oh, okay. Right? That's your door. Then your pathway is basically all the specific things your brain has memorized of these things need to happen in order for me to get to this door, right? That is the way to get to the door. If I'm over here, I'm not getting to the door. I have to follow the pathway, right? So if your door is, I need to have this dream relationship, then your path might be, oh, they need to say this to me. Oh, they need to have not cheated. Oh, I need to feel this love for them in this perfect way. Oh, they need to look exactly like this. Oh, I need to, like, whatever. If your door is, I need to conquer OCD, I need to not have OCD, then your pathway is going to be, I need to have the thoughts and feelings I want at any moment, right? And then the thing that goes right with this is basically just the opposite of your path is the fences. This is crucial to understand. Your fence, and really there's going to be like a ton of them, right? There could be like 1,000. Your fence is going to be anything that your brain has memorized, right? With your subconscious patterns, that if this thing happens, my need will not be met. And especially that if this thing happens, my need won't be met in a way that is condemning, in a way that is lasting, in a way that I have no control over it being met. Right? Oh, if I have this intrusive thought, then I might not have control over my actions, which will make it so I actually hurt a family member, which goes against my door totally, which makes it so none of my needs are met, because if I do that, then none of these needs will be met. So holy cow, this is the thing that would stop all of my needs from being met. Boom. All right, so just for a second, actually pause the video or just think it through. Okay, what are some of the specific things with your path, and especially what are the fences? What are the things that your brain's memorized? Holy cow, if this thing happens, then my needs will not be met because my door will not happen. So then here is when you can actually understand why your brain would on purpose create all the fear, create all the shame, all of the obsessing, the intrusive thoughts. This is when it gets so relieving and you can become so free and empowered from everything your brain's doing now that you understand this. Is that the way your brain works, like write this down, star this is so important to understand. The way your brain works is it thinks the only way it can protect you from a danger, right? A danger meaning a fence, because a fence is dangerous because it's something that stops your needs from being met. So your brain thinks the only way it can protect you from that danger, that fence, is if it can make you think about it, be aware of it, focus on it, right? And if it can make you feel negative emotions towards that thing. Because the negative emotion ultimately is there to tell you, guess what? This thing's going to make our need not met, so we have to do something about it. We have to escape it, right? Fear. Oh, we have to escape this thing. Shame. Oh my goodness, this thing can't have happened. That would just be so horrible. Oh, that can't have happened. Shame. Or whatever the negative emotion is, right? It's there to tell you this thing will make my need not met, so we have to think about this, and we have to feel this negative emotion so that somehow we will make sure we do something to protect ourselves from this happening. Because, like, think about it. Think about this for a second. Going back to the way our brains have been programmed. If there's a tiger, the only way you can escape that tiger is if you can notice it, be aware of it, think about it, right? If I'm just thinking about these berries over here that I'm picking, the tiger's going to eat me. So I have to think about it. I have to be aware of the threat. And I have to convince myself, your subconscious has to convince you that that tiger is dangerous so much that you can feel tons of fear, so that fear can give you that adrenaline, can give you that, push to actually escape the tiger, to run away from it. So that is what is happening in your brain. That's why your brain's causing you to think and feel all those ways. To try to protect you from fences, to try to help you meet your needs. And then the thing to also understand with this is your brain really thinks it has to convince you that this fence is something dangerous. Because if it can't convince you, if you see that tiger and your brain goes, it's fine, then you're not going to run away and escape. So your brain thinks it has to convince you that that thing is actually going to stop you from having your needs met. It has to convince you that that thing is horrible and that you have to escape that. And that is when your brain creates what I call convincing topics. Your convincing topic is basically a topic of fences that your brain is going to always try to convince you of on purpose, because that's what your brain thinks is the only way it can make sure it protects you from any possible fence that can ever fit under that topic, because any fence that does fit in that topic will stop you from having your needs met. Right? So with me, my OCD, one of the biggest types of OCD I had was that my needs that I memorized not being met was being good enough to be loved. So these two. My door was, I have to be loved by people and never be judged by anyone. I have to be loved and accepted by everyone. Specifically, I have to be loved and wanted by women. Like that was a big door for me, right? That was like the big thing. So then my fence was any flaw, any insecurity, anything that could ever make me be judged or not lovable by other people, and especially by women, that's going to make it so my needs aren't met. So I have to escape all of that. I can never be judged. I can never have a flaw. Well, then guess what? My convincing topic became, I'm flawed. There's something wrong with me. I'm judged. I'm going to be judged. Right? Because my brain thought that, holy cow, the only way I can make sure that I notice every possible fence that can ever exist, or that I can notice any possible insecurity or flaw that I have that could ever exist, is if I'm always on the lookout for it. If I'm always trying to convince myself of it. Because if I'm always trying to convince myself that this could be a flaw, this is a flaw I have, this is wrong with me, this is wrong with me, I'm going to get judged for this, I'm going to get judged for this, then that way I won't accidentally miss any flaw that I might have that could ultimately make it so I'm never loved. Right? So your brain is actually on purpose trying to convince you of that terrifying, horrifying thing. And that is why when you're like, oh my goodness, like this OCD is just so convincing, right? That's why it's so hard. It's so convincing. It seems so real. Of course it does. Of course. Your brain thinks that it has to convince you of that in order to have your needs met. It thinks the only way you can ever be okay is if it can convince you and make sure that you believe that awful thing. And guess what? Your subconscious mind, it's your mind. It knows you perfectly. So it knows exactly what thoughts. It knows exactly what memories. It knows exactly what way to get you to perceive what's happening. It knows exactly what images to get you to think. All of it. Exactly how to make you feel to actually get you to believe that convincing topic is trying to convince you of. So of course it's convincing. Of course it is. In fact, the more convincing the OCD is, the more convincing that thing is in your brain, the more distressed and the more it's just like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. If it fits with that topic that you're experiencing all the time, the more convincing it is, the more you can know it is nothing. It's just your brain. It's just a program actually distorting reality, actually lying to you on purpose because it wants you to believe that there's a danger. It wants you to believe that everything is a danger because that's the only way it thinks it can make sure it protects you from everything that could be a danger. All right? So a couple examples to really help you internalize what is actually happening and really be able to see how this works. First off, if you were walking through a jungle, right? You're walking through a jungle and you knew that that jungle was filled with like thousands of tigers. And you know at any moment a tiger could jump out and try to eat you. Then when you're going through that jungle, are you just going to be like, oh, I'm just happy and just chilling? No, you're going to be like always looking like, holy cow. And any noise, oh, that's a tiger. And you can see like a branch move and oh, it's a tiger. You can see a bird and you're like, that's a tiger, right? Because everything is your brain trying to find the tigers so it can protect you, right? And then something even simpler to show you right now in this moment how this can work is right now, for like 5 to 10 seconds, wherever you are, I just want you to look around you and I want you to look for the color red. So look for red. Look for red, find red, look for red, look for red, find red. Now close your eyes. Now I want you to think of everything you can remember that is the color brown. And there's probably not very many things, right? So now I want you to open your eyes again. I want you to look for brown, look for brown, look for brown, find brown, look for brown, look for brown. Now close your eyes. And I'm guessing there's a lot more brown you can think of this time compared to the first time. So go ahead, open your eyes. The point I want to make with this is that whatever your brain is trying to find, it's going to find. When your brain is looking for brown, you found a lot of brown, right? And where this gets even crazier is I'm guessing there were some things you found that were the color tan that you called brown. There were some things that were the color pink or maroon that you called red. Right? Your brain wanted to find that thing so much that it found it even when it wasn't there. And that is how the OCD works. It is going to find or convince you that it found that danger and convince you that it is a danger even when it's not even there. Right? It's actually distorting reality. It is lying to you on purpose because it thinks it has to trick you. It thinks it has to distort reality and convince you that that thing's actually a danger, that thing's actually that fence that's going to make it so your need will never be met, because it thinks that's the only way you'll feel enough fear and that you'll focus on it enough so you can make sure that you protect yourself from it. And that is why all OCD happens. So, when it comes to, let's break it down for all the different aspects of OCD. Intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts, right? If you think, holy cow, my fence is, if I hurt my child, then my needs would never be met. Okay. So if that is such a horrifying threat to you, that, oh my goodness, if that happened, my needs would never be met, then your brain thinks, okay, then I have to think about it. I have to think about it right now because that's the only way I can make sure I can protect myself from that thing. Then what's your brain going to do? It's going to make you think about hurting your child because it thinks that's the only way you can protect yourself. That's why that image is so powerful and why it takes over your mind. There's nothing it seems like you can do to get rid of it. It's because your brain thinks it has to be that consuming because that's the only way it can make sure you're protected. And then guess what? Then you memorize, holy cow, the intrusive thought itself is my fence. Because not only does harming my child make it so my need isn't met, but the intrusive thought makes it so that my needs aren't met. Because if I have this intrusive thought, it means I'm a horrible person, so not good enough. It means I'm going to lose control and actually take the action. Right? So, the thought itself is the fence. Well, then what's your brain going to do? Holy cow, I can't think about this thought. That thought is a danger. So then I have to think about that danger. I have to think about the thought itself. I have to think it. And that's when you get stuck in that vicious cycle, because the thing that your brain is trying to protect you from is actually the very response it is using to try to protect you from that thing. That's why you get so stuck, right? So that's intrusive thoughts. What about compulsions? Compulsions are basically mini ladders that you memorize in your head. Okay, the only way I can avoid this fence so I can still have my need met is if I wash my hands, right? The only way I can avoid this fence of being contaminated is if I wash my hands. So then your brain goes, you have to wash your hands. That's when you feel that urge. You feel that I have to wash my hands. That's the only way my need will be met. Right? Same with ruminating. It's the same thing. It's basically a mental compulsion. So when you sit and think things through and you sit and try to prove something and try to reason something on your mind and try to solve it, and you're just like, I have to prove to myself that they're not actually judging me, or I have to prove to myself that I'm not a horrible person because of what I did, or whatever it is. That's because your brain thinks, holy cow, if this fence is here, then my need will never be met. So I have to do something to prove to myself that this fence isn't here. I have to think and think and think it through until I can feel, right? Because here's something important to realize. Your brain bases all of this off of the thoughts and feelings that are getting triggered. So, if I'm feeling this fear towards being a horrible person, then that means I probably am a horrible person. Which means I need to sit and prove to myself that I'm not a horrible person until that feeling goes away, because so many of us base our beliefs of reality, our belief of, am I actually a good person based on how we're feeling? So, the only way I can know that I am a good person, the only way I can know this fence is gone and know that my needs can be met is if this feeling of distress will go away. Well, but then guess what? Your brain thinks it has to create that distress to convince you of a danger in order to protect you. So that's why you're just fighting back and forth all the time, because your brain's like, we have to convince you of this, and you're like, no, I have to actually prove this other thing, and then you're just fighting back and forth constantly. And because your feelings are automatically determined by your subconscious, then your subconscious is going to keep feeding those negative feelings. So you're not going to be able to feel at peace. You're not going to be able to feel whatever way. So no matter how much you reason, no matter how much whatever, it might have a temporary response, but long term it's not going to create the change, because all you're doing is reinforcing that same subconscious pattern of, oh, this thing's a danger, I have to prove it's not a danger, and then I'm just reinforcing that this is a danger, which is going to keep creating the same pattern, which is going to keep creating the same emotions, which are going to tell me that my needs aren't met, and it's going to tell me this fence is here, which is going to tell me that I have to prove more and more, and you're just going to stay stuck. Right? So, intrusive thoughts, ruminating, compulsions, anxiety. What is anxiety? Why does anxiety happen? Your brain goes, holy cow, there's this danger. I have to feel fear to protect myself from this fence, right? I can't get to this fence, so then anxiety happens right here, boom. Oh, I have to feel anxiety to stop me from doing this thing, right? If you've memorized that, holy cow, if I touch this thing, it's going to make me die. Then your brain goes, you have to feel so much fear before you touch it that there is no chance at all that you will ever touch that thing. Because that's the only way we can meet our needs. Boom, it's going to create all that anxiety. Is this making sense to you? Is this catching on? Do you see why your brain would actually then, on purpose, create all of the OCD and keep creating it over and over again, and how you can get so stuck, right? Because like with the anxiety, oh my goodness, if I get judged, my needs won't be met. So I have to feel anxious towards that thing, so I protect myself from being judged. Okay, well, now that I'm feeling anxious, that tells my brain, oh, well, I must be being judged because I'm feeling anxious and I'm feeling insecure. So then because I'm feeling that, that means this thing must be true. So it's just reinforcing that belief. It's reinforcing that blueprint of, oh, I must be being judged in this way, which just reinforces there's a danger, which is going to make it so you feel even more anxiety. And then maybe you go, holy cow, I have anxiety. If I feel anxiety, then that's going to make me not good enough. That's going to make it so my needs aren't met. So then now you have anxiety about the anxiety itself, and it's just all these vicious cycles. Like, that's why mental illness happens, is these patterns. That's why. That's why. And that's why you believe these things that aren't true, but when other people tell you it's not true, people tell you, remember, your OCD is just a lie. You're like, okay, but no, you're like, it has to be true because I believe it so much and I feel it so much and I think it so much and it seems so true to me. Yeah, because your brain thinks that it has to convince you, and it's really good at doing that. And because you're just reinforcing these beliefs, these blueprints, telling you these horrible things. So of course, you're not going to be able to believe or be able to feel or be able to think the ways you want so that you can prove to yourself that that thing is a lie. No. But that doesn't make it any less of a lie. It is still absolutely a lie. It is still just your thoughts and feelings based on this. And it's the same thing with the other mental illnesses too, of like depression, right? Depression is basically when you go, oh, I'm here, my needs will never be met, and I've tried this so much, and it's been so painful, it's been so horrible that it's just impossible. It's just impossible for me to have my needs met. So then it's actually better for me to just have the convincing topic of, it's impossible, I'm worthless, it's hopeless, it's helpless, there's nothing I can do, I might as well not even get out of bed. Right? Your brain's going to think it should convince you of that, because that way you won't even try to do these things, because when you do try to have your needs met, then all these fences happen, and it's so scary, and it's so painful, and it just reinforces that your need will never be met, which is awful. So it's actually easier to just accept and to just convince yourself that your needs will never be met, and life is just horrible and hopeless. And that's why the depression is so convincing. It's telling you there's no point, it's impossible, I'm worthless, I'm horrible, right? Basically telling you that all these needs can never be met. Oh, I'm just worthless. That's how it is. Oh, I'm just never going to be loved. Right? Everyone hates me. Oh, I'm just stuck forever. Oh, I'm just, that's why it happens. That's it. Same thing with PTSD. PTSD, you memorize, okay, there's a specific thing that happened, or this trauma I went through that made it so my needs aren't met. So now I have to keep reliving that and keep thinking about it again and keep feeling fear towards anything that's at all similar to that thing that caused all that trauma, because that's the only way I can make sure I protect myself from that same type of trauma happening again, which will make it so my need won't be met, right? Or with eating disorders. It's the same as the OCD. If there's this thing that I'm obsessed with happening, in order to have my needs met, right, I have to have the perfect body in order to be loved, in order to be good enough. Guess what? Having any fat on my body is offense. It makes it so I won't have my need met. So then your brain is going to always be convincing you that you're fat. It's going to be distorting reality. It's actually going to be changing the way you see yourself to make you see a lie, to make you believe a lie, right? And in your mind, it's like, no, I absolutely am fat. I just have to be skinny because that's the only way I can be loved. And it's like, no, it's your brain convincing you of that. And with an addiction a lot of times is like, there's this little shiny object over here, up here. And then your brain's like, holy cow, well, if I can just, addictions usually are something that somehow mimics being in the house. It mimics your need being met, right? Pornography is so powerful. It mimics that you have love and connection without actually having love and connection. So it makes you kind of feel or perceive that you're in the house even when you're not. And then your brain goes, well, it's impossible to have my need met this way, but I can keep escaping to this to make it feel like my need's met and to just distract me and numb me from all of this. So, boom, and you keep getting more and more dependent on this thing and just, I have to be here because this is so horrible and painful, and instead, this is how I can actually feel like my needs are being met. There you go. Like, that's mental illness. It's patterns you memorize in your subconscious. That's it. And yes, those patterns over time, the more you think and feel and believe and memorize a fact that you perceive as a fact, it's going to create chemical changes. That's why it's going to affect hormones, or it's going to affect that, I have a chemical imbalance. Like, yes, that is aligned with your thoughts and feelings. If for the last 30 years you've believed these horrible things and reinforced that over and over in your mind, then guess what? The chemicals you release go according to your beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings. So for the last 30 years, you've been only releasing all this cortisol and all this awful stuff instead of the chemicals you want, then yeah, that's going to cause chemical imbalances over time, right? And that's why genetics, if genetically I naturally have less of a chemical or whatever, like it can impact this. But ultimately, this is why it's happening. It's all happening on purpose for a reason to try to help you meet your needs. That's it. So in this way, anything that is OCD, anything that is anxiety, anything that follows this convincing topic, or maybe you have multiple, maybe you have 5, 10, whatever, anything that fits under that, you can know is not true. You can know is not real. You can know is just your imagination. It is just a story that your brain is trying to convince you. That's it. It is just thoughts. It is just feelings. It has nothing to do with reality. It has nothing to do with what is true. It has nothing to do with, here's the thing to understand. Your thoughts and feelings that get triggered have nothing to do with the actions you're going to take. They don't determine what's going to happen in your reality. They don't determine what you actually believe or want. They don't determine any of that. The only thing they determine is that you have a pattern trying to protect you from that thing. That's all it indicates. So when you have that intrusive thought of hurting someone, that doesn't mean you're going to actually hurt them. It means you have a pattern memorized in your brain that's trying to protect you from hurting people. That's all it means. Literally. Take that in for a second. How relieving is that? How amazing is that? How absolutely mind-blowing and incredible is it to understand this? To know that thing you were so terrified of and you were just so if only I could get rid of this, if only this thing weren't true. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's just a pattern. All the suffering that you've had for the last years or however long, it's just a program playing, convincing you of lies, convincing you to suffer. It's not true. It's not founded in reality. It's just a program. It's just a subconscious pattern on purpose. That's it. That's it. And you can change it. You can. It's temporary. So take that in for a second of how amazing is that? How much are you just so free and so relieved and so just oh my goodness, I could cry right now because I feel so relieved that this thing I was so terrified of is absolutely and totally a lie. It's just something my brain's trying to convince me of to protect me. It's just a pattern. It's just nothing. So 2 more analogies to really help you take this in and see how this works. Is right now, I want you to imagine, it's going to sound silly, but imagine there's an elephant in the room with you. Just stomping around. So just imagine that for a second. Okay. Now I'm guessing when you imagine that elephant, You didn't yell, you didn't scream, you weren't like, what the heck? Like, what is this doing here? And like, get your phone out and take pictures or like run out of the room. Like, I'm guessing you didn't do any of that. If anything, because I've done this with a lot of people, like in person, you probably kind of laughed or kind of giggled or kind of smiled like, what? Or like, this is weird, right? Why? Why didn't you do any of those things? Yell, scream, feel terrified or shocked? Because you knew it was just your imagination. You knew it was just a thought. So you're like, oh, whatever. Guess what? Once you understand what is happening with the OCD, then you can understand that any thought, any intrusive thought, any ruminating, any thought with OCD is just an imaginary elephant. That's all it is. It has no more reality, no more truth, no more, ability to determine your reality than that elephant did. Right? Oh, well, if I think about this elephant enough, it's going to actually be in my room. No, you didn't think that because that's not true. Like, all the OCD thoughts are literally nothing. It's just thoughts. It's just imaginary elephants. That's it. And you might say, okay, well, the hardest part is the feeling. It feels so real. Yeah, because it thinks it has to convince you. And the way I like to look at this is, okay, right now, if you wanted to, could you feel yourself wearing your shirt? Could you feel that if you wanted to? Yeah, you could. But do we? No, because it's not important to us. Because even though that physical sensation is there, like our sensory receptors are actually feeling this all the time, our brain's like, that doesn't matter, so it doesn't feel it, because it's nothing to us. Once you understand OCD, you can actually know that all of the feelings, all the physical sensations, the anxiety, the shame, all of it, all the physical aspect of it, it's just super uncomfortable shirts. That's it. It has no more significance, no more meaning or impact over our lives. It's literally just a feeling that is there based on a pattern because your brain is creating that feeling on purpose to try to scare you and protect you based on this program you've memorized. So it's literally just a feeling. It's just chemicals flowing through you. It's just energy and motion, right? That's all it is. That's it. So no matter how powerful and consuming that terror is inside of you, it's just a feeling. It's just it's nothing. It does not indicate reality. It does not indicate that it's going to be like that forever. No, it's just a temporary sensation, physical sensation. That's it. So how amazing is this to know that all of the suffering, all of the fears and the terrible things that you've wanted more than anything to be able to escape, all it is, your worst nightmare and enemy is just imaginary elephants and uncomfortable shirts. That's it. That's it. And not to take away from the suffering you've been through. I know to you it's been real. To you, you've experienced it as real. So it's been horrible suffering. But now you can actually take in, it's not horrible suffering. It's just imaginary elephants and it's just uncomfortable shirts. It's just thoughts and sensations that have nothing to do with reality. They're just indicating a program that you've memorized in your subconscious. That's it. Trying to protect you and meet your needs. That's it. How amazing is this to understand? Like, how much does this change everything? How much does this change the way you look at everything you experience, the way you look at all of the OCD, the way you look at all of the anxiety? Like, how much of a game changer is this? Take this in, make this true, make this real to you, because it is. And if your subconscious right now is telling you, oh, this can't be true, no, that it can't be that simple, no, but what about this, what about this, what about... Because guess what? It doesn't want you to believe this, because it wants you to believe the convincing topic. So it probably is going to tell you that what I'm telling you is not true. Guess what? No matter what it tells you, it's still a lie. Guess what? No matter how convincing it is at telling you, oh, this can't be real, this is all just... Yeah, it's because it wants to convince you of that, but it's just following your program of trying to convince you that this isn't true, because instead it wants to convince you that that danger is true because it thinks that's the only way it can protect you. That's it. So right now, I want you to actually pause the video and write down what the need is, or needs, what the door is, or the doors, and what your convincing topic is, and defenses, right? Actually write that down, and then from now on, anything your brain tells you that has anything to do with the convincing topic, you can know it's just your brain making stuff up. You can know it's just your brain adding to things. It's just your brain telling you a story that's not true. And you might be saying, okay, but like, sometimes it could be true, right? Like, for example, one of my themes was that I'm awkward socially and people are judging me. It's like, well, sometimes people do judge you. So wait, sometimes it is true, so I do need to fear it. Okay, here's the thing to realize. With me, yes, one of my biggest convincing topics was There's something wrong with me. People are judging me because of it. Okay, sometimes people do judge me. So that simplest part is true, but everything your brain is telling you about them judging you is a lie. Everything your brain is telling you about that moment is a lie. So even if there's the simplest truth in it, right? Oh, what if there are germs on this? Yeah, there are germs. But everything your brain is telling you about the germs is a lie. Right? It's adding all this story and all these lies and all this convincing evidence to try to prove to you how horrible this thing is. That's all a lie. So, the way I look at this is, okay, you might say, oh, well, then I have to actually reason with it then and find the part that's true so I can make sure that... Okay, here's the thing. Here's the way to look at this. If someone gave you a drink, and the drink had your favorite drink in it, right? Oh, I love grape juice, and it has grape juice in it. Awesome. But then they filled it with like 20 different types of poisons. And they hand you this drink, like, here, drink this. Would you be like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna kind of try to drink a little bit of it, because like there is some grape juice in it, so I'm gonna drink some of it and just kind of like try to figure it out from there. Or I'm gonna pour it into different cups and try to get the grape juice out of it so I can just have that, you know? Is that gonna work? No, not at all. It's the same thing with this. Like, here's the thing. Anything that has anything to do with your convincing topic, thing that your brain keeps convincing you on that horrible thing, it's all a lie. Even if there's the tiniest bit of truth in it, because your brain is so distorting reality so much, then it makes it so all of it becomes a lie. It makes it so all of it is just something that's not even worth your time. It's not even worth you reasoning with it. It's not even worth you interacting with it. It's not even worth any of that, because it's all just nothing. It's all just a program. So treat all of it that way. Like, don't fight and argue with the specific thoughts. Instead, just treat all of it as it's all just a convincing topic. It's all just nothing. It's all not worth my time. I don't even care what it's telling me. It's all bleh. It can go away. I can drop kick it out of my life. It's nothing to me. And then from there, you can decide, okay, what things do I want to believe? How do I want to live my life? And do all sorts of steps that I could break down into tons of depth of how to do it in the best way, most empowering way, but we don't have time in this video. That's the thing to realize. All the OCD, all the anxiety, all of it is just lies. It's just lies. And one story to help you really take this in is, I remember for me, before I even knew what OCD was, it's when I was really struggling with religious OCD. So there's a religious leader I kept going to, being like, okay, what about this sin? What about this thing I did? What about this? Kept going to him over and over and over again with all these things I was so scared about. I remember at one point, he just kind of paused the conversation and just said, David, the thing he said next would change my life forever. I'll never forget. He said, David, when are you going to stop listening to the lies from Satan? Right, because it was a religious leader. And it just hit me straight to the heart, because he didn't say, when are you going to convince yourself that this thing is a lie? No, when are you going to stop listening to the lies? Everything I told him was a lie. Everything I'd gone to him so concerned about, so scared of, was a lie. All of it. So the question I'll challenge you is, when are you going to stop listening to the lies of your OCD? And not, oh, I can't think this, I can't feel this, but no, it's a lie, it's nothing. So I don't even care if the thought's there, right? When are you going to stop listening to the lies? So the last thing that I will leave you with, because I want to be able to change your life as much as I possibly can in this video, because I understand that most people that watch this, unfortunately, will not be able to work with me personally. I probably won't even meet most people that watch this video. So I want this to change your life as much as I possibly can. So you might be saying, okay, now that I understand what's actually going on with OCD, what's happening, what do I do about it? Right? So obviously I have probably 15 hours worth of videos teaching all of this stuff in depth, every step of the way, everything you can need to conquer this. So it's hard to break it down into okay, the next 10 minutes, because I don't want to make this video too long. But just the most simplified way to look at this, just so you can have some direction, just so you can actually start to okay, here's what I can do. Is the way to look at this is, okay, in every moment you have your subconscious patterns that you've memorized, but you also have your conscious mind, or in my beliefs, you have a soul as well, right? You are so much more than just the thoughts from your subconscious, just the feelings. So you have your subconscious and you have your conscious, right? Whichever one is more powerful in the moment is what you are going to experience. So that is why the OCD is so hard, because your subconscious programs are always like so powerful, because your brain thinks you have to be thinking this, so it's so powerful. So then the goal is we want to take power away from the subconscious and give power to the conscious mind of what you actually want to think and feel and the patterns you want to program in your brain. Because it's not just a matter of accepting these awful patterns and being okay with them. No, you can actually design your brain to think and feel differently, and to think and feel how you want it to in any moment. Like, you can actually gain the power. It's like, just from the bottom of my soul, telling you this, because I want you to have the same freedom I have developed. You have the power inside of you to create the emotion, the belief, the experience that you want at any moment, no matter what is happening with the OCD. You have that power. And you have the power to learn how to rewire your subconscious to make it so that those changes, those new patterns, those new thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs that you want, so that those become automatic to you. And you can actually teach your brain that those new things that you want are actually going to meet your needs better than these old blueprints. That is what you can do. And it all, like, the most simplified way again, is it all comes down to taking power away from the subconscious and giving more power to your conscious mind. So, one thing I like to have people think about is, in the moment, if you are experiencing OCD at the strongest, worst, darkest moment ever of OCD, if in that moment an actual tiger started chasing you, I think it's pretty safe to say you'd forget all about that OCD and your whole experience would be on that tiger, right? So in that moment, you would be healed. You would be free. The OCD would be gone, because you are experiencing that tiger instead so fully. So what if you could create the patterns you do want, the beliefs you do want, the thoughts you do want, all of the stuff that you do want? What if you could actually create that to be your tiger? That you're just so immersed and it's so powerful in your mind and it's so just like, boom, this is my reality, this is my experience so much that the OCD just automatically goes away. And then what if you could also teach your brain to take power away from the OCD, which hopefully has already happened a ton in this video, just because now you understand that it truly has no power. Like, it's never had power. It's only had the power that you've given it through letting your brain try to convince you of these lies. So if you take the power away and then you teach your brain how to experience what you do want, the more times you do that, you're creating new experiences, right? Because you're making your conscious more powerful than the subconscious. The more times you do that, the more you can actually train your subconscious to memorize those new patterns, to make them the most dominant, most automatic thing in your brain. Because without going into too much information, which I could break this down way more, neurons that fire together wire together. Neurons that fire out of sync lose their link. So if you repeatedly teach your brain to think a certain way, to feel a certain way, to view life with a new lens of reality, with new beliefs, the more times you do that, the more you're connecting those circuits in your brain, the more times you're connecting those neurons, the more it's going to get memorized and programmed into your brain as automatic. So the last story I'm going to share with you, just to show you that this is possible, just to show you that this can happen, is from my life. After a few weeks, maybe a month of applying, of learning what I just taught you, and then also learning and applying all in the other strategies that I use, I remember, for me again, one of my biggest, convincing topics of the OCD was that there's something wrong with me. I'm never going to be loved by women. I'm being judged, all of that. So I remember I was walking on campus. This is when I was a freshman at university. And I remember exactly where I was walking. And I got a text on my phone getting rejected by a girl that I was interested in. And I remember, in the past, that would have triggered all of the thoughts, all the feelings. What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Oh, it's because of this flaw. Oh, it's this. I'm never going to be loved. But I remember in that moment, my brain almost started to go there. And instead, boom, whoosh, I was just filled with this confidence, filled with this being in love with life, filled with believing my dreams are coming true, filled with believing I'm amazing and I'm lovable and I can be loved and all this amazing stuff. And it was just like, holy cow, this is insane. Because I didn't even have to consciously try to do anything. I just reprogrammed my brain that, oh, anything that happens with women actually means I'm confident, I'm lovable, I'm free, my needs are met. All these beliefs, these patterns, these thoughts, these feelings I do want. I programmed my brain so much that that became my new most dominant pattern and program. So my brain automatically went there. And in that moment, I knew that you can conquer OCD for good, you can heal for good, you can create the freedom lastingly that you want for good. Because you can reprogram your subconscious and nothing can stop you if you learn the right strategies, if you learn how to do it the right way, if you truly learn how to take power away from the OCD and how to give power to the beliefs that you do want without ruminating, without proving it, without forcing it, without needing to feel a certain way, but actually instead through the power that you have of creating the beliefs you want, creating the programs you want, and all of those things, which unfortunately I do not have enough time in this video to explain to you. So the big takeaways from this video is know that you can heal. You can conquer all of the OCD, no matter what, no matter how much you've struggled, no matter how impossible it's felt, no matter what you've tried that hasn't worked, no matter how much ERP and traditional treatments have failed you. Of course they failed you. They don't know this stuff. Of course they failed you. They don't know how to teach you how to unlock the power of your brain to create any pattern you want. Of course they failed you. You're not broken. Those strategies were broken. They are broken. You're stuck not because of anything about you, but because you've not learned the right information. So it is possible. Right? It's like if you were trying to get from the United States to Europe and you had a little kayak, then yeah, you're going to keep trying and failing. It's going to be painful and miserable and it's going to be awful and you're probably never going to make it to Europe. So you might say, oh, it's just impossible. Yeah, you can't make it from the United States to Europe. You just can't. No, it can never happen. And oh, anyone that tells me it can, they're just full of it. No, you can get plane tickets. That's what I discovered is the plane tickets. The plane tickets that you can use to conquer all of the OCD. The plane tickets that you can use and what actually works in a way that any obstacle, anything that tries to stop you, I've had clients also struggle with that, and I have probably also struggled with that, and I've found ways to actually conquer it in a way that you become unstoppable. And that is why I've got such amazing results for my clients. That is why I've gotten such amazing results in my life. That is why I've taken people that have struggled with OCD for decades and in weeks gotten them better results than anything else they've tried. That is why I've had clients that have struggled for years and years and literally got all the results they wanted before the 2 months of the program are done. And in 5 weeks, they're like, I'm free, I don't need any more coaching. And I'm like, awesome. It's because this stuff works. What I call neuro-choosing, the strategies that I use, and I teach people of how to change their brain, how to change their life, how to conquer OCD for good, neuro-choosing. That's why it's so powerful and it's so effective. And literally, once you learn how to do it, there's nothing that can stop you. It doesn't matter how the OCD gets triggered. It doesn't matter what happens, none of that. When you learn the right strategies and when you decide you are going to figure out a way to get it to work, then it will, because it's just how the brain works. And I am so blessed in my life to have discovered this. Infinitely blessed. I would not trade this knowledge, this power that I have developed for anything. Like literally, someone could offer me $1 billion, and say, okay, you have to give up this information, you have to give up this power that you have in your life, in your mind, to create your experience, your subconscious, and you'll never get it back. And I'd say, no, I'm not even going to think about it. Because this is everything. And it's not just how you can beat OCD, it's how you can actually create the mind and the life you dream of. That is why I'm so passionate about this. I hope you can tell. That is why I want to change your life. That's why I created this video for free to help you all I could. And that's also why I have my full program to absolutely change your life and to guarantee that you will gain power over the OCD to be able to change your experience at any moment. And that guarantees you'll have everything you need to be able to reprogram your subconscious and create lasting healing and change. And if I don't deliver on those two things, you literally get extra coaching for free until it does happen, or you get your money back. Because this stuff just works. And that is what I'm convinced, and that is what I'm set on, that I'm going to bring this change, this transformation. I'm going to bring this to as many lives, to as many people as I possibly can, and I will stop at nothing until I get there. I will stop at nothing. As long as there is still someone stuck, as long as there is still someone suffering, I will not stop until I've shared this message, until I've shared these strategies that are the most powerful strategies I know of, and have absolutely changed my life and so many others, I will not stop until these are all over the world. So I don't want to be that guy, but if you do want more information on this to see if it can change your life, you can book a 15-minute discovery call. You can't buy my program on that call. Like, you literally can't. I don't let people. It's literally just going to be to see what next steps are best for you, to see if this can work for you, to see what you think about this, and for me to answer any questions you have from this video, because it was a lot of information, right? So if you want to schedule that call, go ahead. There's a link probably below somewhere. Yeah. And if not, even if you've never talked to me in your life, and even if you say this guy's the worst person ever, at least please take in the information in this video and please use it to change your life. And please know and keep the hope that you can overcome the OCD. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. You can. It's possible. Absolutely. So keep on that hope. Keep on to that belief, and let's do this. Let's change our lives, and hopefully I get to talk with you, and if so, I look forward to that. But let's do this. Take this in, change your life, and use today as the start of a new life, a start of a life where OCD no longer has power over you.